Welcome to Connect Conversations, styled by Infinite Gents Grooming in Finiston. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by the Random Runner. How are we, mate?
I'm good. Doing
good.
Yeah.
So for the people, tell us your name then. Tell us a bit about your background.
So my name is Paul.
Yep.
Paul Manson. That is my name. But yeah, you're right. So I use the name The Random Runner for my YouTube channel, which is where people might have seen me. Although I should point out that if people have watched any of my videos, they might not be recognising me, because up until about 3 days ago, I had a mighty big, quite recognisable bushy beard, and
It's quite impressive.
I've had that for like 5 or 6 years, and it's become a bit of a trademark for me.
Yeah, a bit of identity.
Yeah, which you know, I never had planned to keep it that long, and because I was then making the videos, I felt compelled to keep it, and at some point, fairly recently, it just came to me. I was like, well, I'm literally just going to have to keep it forever if that's the case. If this is now my identity, you know.
Yeah.
So it was a wee bit of like taking control and just going, no, do you know what? I'm not so attached to this look with the beard.
Yes.
I can shave off.
Yeah, and what was the thinking behind the beard? Was it, did somebody suggest it to you, or did you just think, aye, that was it?
No, I just like I'd been in the big bad corporate world for like 10 years as an estate agent, and you got to be smart, wear a suit, be clean shaven, and I left that world, and the first thing I said was, right, now I get to wear shorts every day.
Yep.
And I get to grow a beard.
And you're like, yes, that's
so that was like, yeah, that was 6 years ago, and I stuck by that. I've literally, apart from needs must at weddings or something like that.
Yes.
You know, although I can wear my kilt.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, literally, I am in my shorts every day, and I grew a fairly.
It's
big
quite
beard.
impressive, to be fair. It was quite an impressive beard. I must
good,
say,
yeah,
I was one of the ones that voted no right enough. I don't know.
I know, I saw that. Yeah.
I was like, I need to go with no.
It's like you're coming on my show. It's like
Nobody's gonna recognise you.
Who's this new guy?
I'm glad you've kind of cleared that up though, so everybody now knows who you are. So
yeah,
the Random Runner, talk me through that. Where did that come from then? The name?
I mean, it was like something that I started probably 10 years ago. And when I was thinking about just a name for a channel, I wanted something with running in it, or runner, and like I just thought, that sounds quite cool. It's a bit of what they call alliteration.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know, the Random Runner.
Yeah, it rolls off the tongue quite well.
So I just thought, yeah, that'll do. And then people have asked, oh, so why the Random Runner? What's random about what you do? And I was like, nothing really. Well, I don't know. I suppose running 200 miles in the Italian Alps is quite a random thing to do to your Joe Public. So.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's quite a vibe. I think I quite like it. You know, as I said, obviously with our good friend Michael, kind of connected us and introducing us. He's like, you need to meet up when you go and chat with Paul, and he showed me your page and his Random Runner, and right away I was like, that's pretty cool. Like, as I said, I don't know really anything that's quite get that vibe with running, so you know, fair play to you. When did running shift from the casual running to that next level, that ultra running? When did it shift?
So I ran my first ultra back in 2013. So that's now 13 years ago, and up till that point, I'd always been fairly active, and don't know if you know the company Rat Race.
I've heard of them.
They do a lot of these sort of adventure racing and stuff like that. In fact, the first thing that I did with them, it was the Men's Health Survival Challenge, and it was like a 10k obstacle race. This was really before all this obstacle racing kicked off big as what it is with all the high rocks, stuff like that. So I loved it. You know, I loved doing just challenging myself to different things. And through that Rat Race, you could buy like a season pass for the year, and that got you into pretty much all of their events. And they did things like the Coast to Coast, where it's a mix of running, cycling, canoeing from one end, top of Scotland, to the other. The Crossing, which is like a 3-day mountain biking thing. They also did one called The Wall, which was my first ultramarathon, and that was running the length of Adrian's Wall from Carlisle to Newcastle. That it was a kind of progression of doing their events that led me to going, you know, they'd just released this event.
Yep.
And at that point, it was like 70 miles, but you could do it over 2 days. So I was like, all right, I'll give that a go. You know, it's like,
why not? I'll give that a bash, yeah.
And like there was an option to do it in 1 day. And I remember at the time thinking like, what sort of mental person runs 70 miles in 1 day? Like, or in one go? Like I actually couldn't get my head around it.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you zoom forwards and suddenly I'm doing like 100-mile races, you know.
Yeah, you were then that person, you were like, who does that? And then now looking back, it's like, yeah, that's you.
So, and at the time, the 2-day thing, I trained a lot, and that's probably held me in good stead over the years, because a lot of my early training and running was back-to-back stuff. So it's meant that I've built up good endurance in my legs, that my legs are used to now doing a big run and the next day getting up and going, yeah, I could probably go another run.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my first ultra. I hadn't even done a marathon at that point. Like, so first foray into it was that, yeah, to do the wall. I then did do some marathons, and then the next year went back to do the wall. But to be honest, I struggled. I did actually struggle with it. I suppose
at the beginning. Yeah.
At the beginning, yeah. You know, it was hard because you're running.
Yes,
you know,
I was
35,
going to say,
40 miles in a day.
You're like, you're saying that I struggled, and I'm like, well, no wonder.
Yeah,
it's like it's that next level. You know, I'm
Yeah.
talking obviously like I done a half marathon. I done the Glasgow half, you know, last year, and
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, I don't get me wrong, I done really well, and I enjoyed every minute of it, and I struggled throughout it, so I can't even begin to imagine what goes on in the mindset of you then starting out that career, or that kind of, you know, hobby, if you like, or probably more than that now.
Yeah.
It's like a lifestyle. For that, were you like that at school though? Were you into your running at school, or were you into other sports?
Yeah, I was sporty at school, like, and probably like now running is just kind of taken over everything. Like, years ago I did a bit of triathlon stuff as well. I enjoyed swimming, and I quite enjoyed cycling. Just not overly keen on sitting in a saddle for too long.
No.
So and I enjoyed the running. But yeah, I used to play like squash and badminton and basketball. You know, like literally anything sporty.
Yeah.
I was into it, and in a way, I kind of, you know, I would like to do more of that sort of stuff. But running is, with the triathlon stuff, I mean, I ended up, whilst I enjoyed the other disciplines, it was always the running part that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
So that's what I ended up doing more of my training, and that's what took over. So that, yeah, ultimately that's what I enjoy the most. But at school, yeah, I mean, I would do pretty much anything, but not really running at that point, or running was like short distance stuff. I remember we got a coach in when we were doing some of the track stuff. Can't remember what year I was in, like 3rd or 4th year or something. And I remember the coach saying, like, to our PE teacher at the time, like, well, this guy's got real potential. And that's if I actually put my mind to it, which at that point I just wasn't. I was like, nah, I'm not gonna, you know, put my mind to being like a track runner or something like that.
Yeah, there was always other things kicking, especially when you're younger. Do you know what I mean, there's so many different paths and opportunities, isn't there? You know, running being one, triathlon, swimming. You know, myself being you know, a competitive swimmer growing up. So that was my background, and I swam for, you know, 10, 15 years at a competitive level, but decided, you know, it wasn't for me after some health issues. But, you know, yourself doing that, you always someday at school, did you push yourself to the extreme then, would you say? Just whatever you done? So,
like, I've never, and it sounds funny because, like, to somebody looking at what I've done, you would probably say, yeah, you have pushed yourself to extreme, but the truth is I don't, and I never have. I push myself to a limit that I'm comfortable with, and obviously the more you do that, the more it builds that sort of comfort zone. But I never, like that coach saying this guy's got real potential. Like, if I actually really put my mind to it and trained really, really hard, then maybe I could have been a better runner. But I just wasn't ever prepared to put that much effort into something, you know, and sometimes you think, well, maybe I should have, but then I'm like, yeah, but I enjoy what I do. Yeah. You know, I enjoy what I get out of it. And I look at some of the races that I do now where people are super competitive, or they're just doing it in a lot quicker time than what I might finish in. And I'm like, yeah, but you're then like, you can't walk for 2 weeks afterwards, and like, you know, because you've absolutely battered yourself.
Yeah, you've literally drained the tank. Yeah.
And it's like, or you know, in the few weeks leading up to like doing a 100-mile race, you can't get out and enjoy a wee trail run because you're tapering. And I'm like, I've never been one for tapering, and I've never been one for doing the whole rest and recovery, because I just enjoy getting out a run, you know. And if it meant that like the day or two before doing a big race, I fancy going, you know, it's a nice day, and I'm like, go out for like a 20k run, it's like, I'll do it, because, well, on race day it might mean that I'm just a wee bit more tired than how it would be, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I love how you just like treat it as another day, because obviously I can imagine a lot of people that watch this, that are into the running, will then think, what's the mentality behind someone like yourself who does those ultramarathons, who runs those extreme lengths, and almost treat, you know, myself, I've never thought about it like that, just treating it like another day, like another run.
Well, it's you know, it's quite interesting. I'd probably say, like, just, you know, for people don't take it so, unless you are taking it seriously, you know, like you said, you know, if you're competitive with something, you know, swimming, then of course you need to have a training plan, you need to have, you know, some structure, and you need to have that drive and competitiveness within you to really push. But you know, I'd say for most people it's about, you know, there's a race that I want to do or a distance that I want to try and achieve, and it's how do I go about doing that. And yeah, you might then say, okay, I've now done that, can I now do that a bit quicker, or, you know, improve my efficiency or something like that. And there's always things to work on, but I would always just say, just still, you know, it's just don't take it all too seriously.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I like that. No, you don't take life too seriously. Everybody always says that's a bit of a cliche, but it's so true, isn't it? Like it is so true. So in terms of your training routine, you know, how do you actually build towards something like 100 meters? Does it depend on what you're going to do? Is your training, or?
Yeah, a bit. I mean, like, you know, I'm always mindful of where I am in my training, but probably fortunate that I've been doing it so long that my body's fairly used to it. I try and keep somewhere around 100 kilometre weekly distance in my training. Yeah. But that fluctuates, and the best point that I can get to, which is where I'm at the moment in my training, is that I don't actually really need to think about what I'm doing on a week-to-week basis, because every 3 to 4 weeks I run a big distance. Last weekend was the St Cuthbert's Way. It's called the Race Against Tide, so that was like 100 kilometre. 2 weeks before that I did my own challenge, which was the Ayrshire Coastal Path, which was like 170 kilometres. 3 weeks before that was the Ultra Trail Macedonia, which is a 100-miler race. So if I, you know, now that I've got myself up to a point where I can do these, and like I say, I do them, and I do them comfortably enough that I know that I'm not wrecking myself, that it's not going to take me weeks to recover from. So I can get back out running, I can keep ticking over, and then a few weeks later, I'm ready to do my next big thing. And that is, you know, these big things are you know, they're the training, and they're the thing, you know, that I'm training for.
Yes.
So, you know.
And during those races that you talk about, you know, multiple ones, do you feel that there's a moment where you feel your mind wants to quit? I don't know, because obviously me not being a runner, you being an ultra runner, is there points that still come in, that self-doubt? Does it ever hit you? Or are you just like zoned in that it doesn't?
No, I mean, like the only thing that would ever make me think about stopping a run is if I'm injured. You know, if I niggle, and I've got a few niggles that have flared up in the weeks before a race that really get me worried, thinking, you know, if this comes back during the race, that like I said, I never want to get to a point where I've scuppered myself for a month because I just pushed on through an injury in a race. Fortunately, I've never not finished a race. I've taken care of myself enough before, if there has been a niggle, to sort of iron it out. But no, with regards to like mentally pushing myself through an event, I think once you understand that running a big distance is hard. So of course there's going to be points where you're just like, oh my God, you can get quite daunted by the distance. Like I mentioned the Ultra Trail Snowdonia. I mean, that was a really, really tough race, and it was harder than what I expected. And at about 30 kilometers in, I really thought, oh my God, like I've still got like 130k to go, and I'm already like feeling pretty done.
Yeah.
like, and like right at that point, I didn't know how was I going to finish? Well, of course I did know. You just keep going.
Yeah.
And I knew that I would finish. It just seemed like, at points, it just seemed like too big an ask. But unless there was an injury, unless something threw itself up that I had to stop for, I knew that I would just keep going. And it would be hard, but yeah, there's never a point in me that would go, yeah, I'm gonna, this is too hard, I'm gonna quit.
You're always determined to keep going.
Yeah.
Obviously, the mental strength to be able to do that must be wild. In terms of that, do you feel like running's also kind of a form of therapy, or do you not link the two?
Yeah, I mean,
probably not something you've massively thought about, but
to be honest, and it's something I have thought about this a lot lately, because I used to get a lot more from running, like a feeling of well-being.
Yes.
Like years ago, when I was starting to push my boundaries of distance or pace and things, because once I said I don't push myself, there's still times that I'm like, well, how fast can I run a 10k?
Yep.
I'll still see if I can get under like 40 minutes, and
yep.
And I always prefer to do them not as part of races, because then there's that pressure. Whereas if I'm just out a run, everything's feeling good, and I'm like, well, let's see, and then nobody needs to know if it all goes tits up. It's like, nobody needs to know, it's like, it doesn't matter. On Strava it'll just be, Paul's just been out for a 10k. They don't need to know that I was actually really trying it and I blew up halfway through, and so whereas in a race, well, yeah, it's a bit more apparent.
Oh, brilliant. So obviously you touched on Snowdonia.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that then, because obviously I'm assuming a lot of people won't know what that actually is. Obviously I know you touched on it a little bit.
So it's an event down in Wales. It's called the UTS Ultra Trail Snowdonia. They've got several different distances that you can do: 25k, 50k, 100k, and then the big one is the 100-miler. It's an event that has been running for years, but it was bought over by the UTMB, Ultra Trail Mont Blanc, the race,
yep.
which a lot of people have heard of. UTMB is now this big company that go around buying up these races.
Yep.
So it's one of theirs, it's one of their World Series, so it does attract a lot of attention. And it is around the Welsh mountains of Snowdonia, so it's pretty hilly. Obviously living in Scotland, I'm quite used to hills.
Yep.
I've done big ultras in mountainous areas before, so I kind of went into maybe just a wee bit complacent, thinking, well, I know I'm good for the miles and the hills. Whilst I've not done maybe enough specific training leading up to this, I know that within the last 6 months I've done some big races that have involved a lot of elevation, so I'll be all right.
Yeah.
And that's what surprised me the most, was just the amount of elevation, but also the technical terrain out there. There's very few just nice trail running. There's a lot of rocks, there's a lot of boulders, there's a lot of clambering.
Yeah, it's not a nice flat surface.
And it's not really, no. I mean, if anybody's seen, I put a video just a week or so ago, and it's, it shows, there's at one point where I'm like pointing the camera up, and there's like a guy like actually near enough rock climbing up.
Wow.
You know, it was pretty gnarly.
Yeah. So in terms of that compared to the other races you've done, where would you say that sits?
Oh, I mean, it's right up there. Like, you know, as far as, you know, a good comparison, the Lakeland 100, which has just been on this weekend. I did that last year and I loved it. It was, you know, hilly, but a lot more runnable and not a few wee technical bits, but nothing compared to the Ultra Trail Snowdonia. And to give you a comparison, the Lakeland 100 I did in 28 hours, which I was pretty pleased with. I set out to try and do sub 30. So 28 hours I was happy with. The Ultra Trail Snowdonia I set out thinking, right, okay, there is more elevation to it. It's going to take me longer, maybe somewhere around 35, 36 hours. And I came in 44 hours. So it's like, I mean, it was like 9 hours, you know, 8 or 9 hours longer than what I thought it was going to take me.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy. How do you stay locked in knowing, I'm assuming when you got past the time you'd set yourself, you kind of knew, didn't you? How did that start to play in your mind? Or?
To be honest, it's also what contributed to how hard it felt, was because I couldn't help but just be kind of, not annoyed, but like the fact that it was all taking longer. I mean, I remember the first ultra that I did, and I said it was hard, and one of the reasons that I found it so hard is because it just took so long, and I wasn't used to being out that long at that point. And I remember getting 6 hours in, and I was looking, going like that, I can't believe I've been running for like 6 hours, you know. And like, you know, fast forward to the Ultra Trail Snowdonia, and I'm like, I can't believe I've been out for 30 hours. And like on Garmin Watch, it'll give you, you know, if you've loaded the route up, it shows your expected finishing time based on how quickly you're moving. And I was keeping an eye on that. And like I saw it going well past the 35 hours that I thought, you know, and when it was pushing towards the 40 hours, I was just looking, going like that, like not only is this so hard to do, you know, the climbs are so steep, it's also just taking a lot longer. And then, you know, you start thinking, well, should I try and get a bit more sleep, because I'm now pushing on in through a second night. Difficult to try and get any sleep, so you're tired, you're moving slower, which means it's taking even longer, you know.
It just all plays into each other.
And I like years ago, that would really start to bring me down, and I'd struggle. Like, whereas, you know, I've now been doing this long enough that even at that point where I was like, okay, it's all just taking longer, but that's just what it is. And there's nothing else for it. I mean, what am I going to do? Like, quit?
You're that far into it.
Have a moan, or be miserable for the next 10 hours, because it's, you know, that's how long I've still got left to go.
You may as well enjoy it.
You know, you're still out, and you know, and the weather was pretty good for that. So, you know, I'm still out, you know, exploring these mountains with like loads of people about, and like, you know. What's
the kind of crowd and the competitors like in that? I've myself not been in that environment.
Oh, brilliant! Like really, really great. You know, and I think that's, again, when you find yourself in that sort of mid-pack, then nobody's out there racing. Nobody's out there like going like, oh, a guy's just passing me, or like, you know, trying to nudge to places. Yeah. Nobody cares. In fact, you're just quite happy to actually, see somebody, because sometimes you might, you know, there's stretches where you can be out by, you know, half an hour to an hour where you don't see anybody, you know, because the field just gets spread out so much. Yeah. So, you know, you start to see somebody up in your head, and you're like, oh yeah, catch up with them, and then you can actually get a bit of chat.
Yeah. All right, mate, how you going? Yeah. How's it going?
And it's usually, I mean, it's still where I see a lot of people that are maybe not as experienced, that haven't done these sort of things a lot, and you know, you catch up with them, and how you doing? You're like, oh man, oh, this is so hard. Oh God, and you're just like, I know it's hard, but like,
you got this.
Pick yourself up.
Yeah, like, so you get a while to go.
Like, look about, you know, like, just enjoy the scenery.
I think that's the thing, is when you're so deep into that, I can imagine, you know, you're so deep, you're like, as you quite rightly said, you may as well enjoy it. Like, you've got 10, 11 hours to go. You can't just let it struggle for 11 hours. You've got to just like pick yourself up and get into the right zone. Yeah. Obviously, completing that monumental achievement, what's the feelings like afterwards?
I mean, it's like, particularly finishing that one, I was like relieved that it was done and that was finished. And like, there's also a bit of an added pressure that I just put on myself because I do film these as well. So, you know, a video isn't going to do very well if you don't finish the actual race. You know, like, nobody really wants to see that, do they?
Come see half a Macedonia.
Yeah. So that's always a bit in the back of my mind, and it is an extra motivation to push on. And in some ways, it's like also thinking, right, well, this is good. You know, this is what people like to see. They like, you know, it's, whilst I'm always quite positive and like, you know, can put a smile on, it's still hard, and there's still points in a race when it gets so hard that you can't fake it. Even when I'm talking to the camera, you know, there's points where I'm just like, I am done. I'm so tired, or this is just so hard. There's no sort of hiding behind the camera. You know, it's not like something that I use it as a fuel, but like it's not something that what you see is the real me. You know, there's no, you know, in these videos. Yeah. That's how you know, when the camera's off. It's raw,
isn't it? It's raw honesty. There's no cut. You're not like putting on a show. Or, you know, a lot of videos these days, TikTok, Instagram. You know, it's all you kind of put it on for the camera. Yeah. But you're just in that moment. That's just all of those moments, raw honesty.
Yeah, that's just who I am. You know, and like, and if it's not, you know, being positive and upbeat, chatting to the camera, I'm chatting to somebody else. Or you get into a checkpoint or something, you can get a bit of chat with some of the volunteers and all that. So,
no, really cool. And obviously Cape Wrath, moving on to that.
Yep.
Talk us through that race. Obviously Macedonia, Cape Wrath, these are all big, massive
races.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was like, that probably was a real turning point in my ultra journey. So up till then, I just sort of dabbled in ultra running. Yeah. You know, so maybe my biggest race up to that point was like 80 kilometers, and that's quite far, you know, and it was a bit of a challenge. But the Cape Wrath came along, and
that's 400 kilometers.
So it's 400 kilometers, but it's a staged race. So so each day is split into the different stages, and I really liked that because it meant that everybody all regroups, you know, so it's not like these other big races where everybody starts and then the field spreads out and you just don't see anybody, you know. So these, you know, it was 400 kilometers, 8 days, some days as big as 75k, other days as short as like 40k. So, but it was good because at the end of each day, there's then all this marquee set up, all the tents and everything of where you were sleeping, and you got to like actually have a chat with people and like, you know, a real nice vibe about it. Albeit the year I did it, it was pissing it down wet, and it was a fairly rotten time, to be honest. Nobody was really in the mood for, like, you know, there's no party vibe going on at the end, you know. So, so yeah, but that was, for me, that was, up to that point, I hadn't done anything as big as that. And I would say that it was something that changed my mindset. Up to that point, I was probably your typical ultra runner, doing events, getting a point, going like, oh my god, this is hard. Oh no, I hate this. Oh, why do I even do this anyway? I mean, this is running's stupid. You know, as most people get to when they're pushing themselves on a big run, and like on the Cape Wrath, I think because you just felt like for like the next 8 days, we're just a way off out. Like, you can forget about everything that's happening at home. Like, you're just on this big adventure with all these people, and I loved every minute of it. I mean, there were still points, particularly on the longest day and the hardest day was like day 6. Quite a lot of people dropped out on that day.
Is that just for injury, sorry, or just they're not mentally not?
I mean, like I said, the weather was atrocious, and a good friend of mine, Gavin, who actually, well, he's a good friend now. I just met him just before that. A very experienced runner, and he dropped on day 6, literally just because he was fed up with it. it was just not. It was, it wasn't sunshine and running through all. You're running through these stunning scenery, but it was just a bit of a slog, to be honest. But it was through those times that I really just, like found myself going, well, you're actually doing this. It was a race that I'd signed up way before, so I was like excited to do it. And when you're actually out on it, you're like, I'm actually doing the Cape Wrath Ultra. This is like, I just had to remind myself every time it was starting to get hard. I'm like, but this is you're actually doing this now, And it was something that from that event on, I've carried on, So that was like, 2022. So I mean, with regards to my run, ultra running time, it's been relatively recent that I would say that I've become the positive runner that I am.
The random runner.
The random runner, yeah. I mean, I've been making,
it's so accurate.
I've been making videos well before that point. But yeah, I think just mentally within myself, that was a real turning point. Yeah,
and obviously training in Glasgow, I imagine you train other places, but mainly train in Glasgow for stuff. Yeah. What's your any favourite spots, hidden gems, long runs, anything you found in your travels?
I mean, so I currently stay in Glasgow city centre, which we are moving. We've got a 2-year-old boy, we are starting to think about schools and all that sort of stuff. So probably looking to move over to Mulgai. Okay. Well, not probably, that is where we're looking to move to. And I mean, we'll say it's for schools, but it's also for trails. I mean, to be at the start of like the West Island Way, and to do like my, at the moment I do a lot of road running because that's just, we live in town, and to go out and do a 5 or 10k, to drive half an hour to get somewhere, to only then drive half an hour back. Well, that hour could just have been my run if I just headed straight out. So I do spend a lot of time on the pavements, but I try and make things as interesting as possible. Like a lot of time my runs are just similar around town, but every so often it's quite cool to do something a bit mad. Like I remember like thinking, well, I fancy doing a sort of marathon distance. What will I do? And I looked up, I heard there was the old Glasgow Marathon, so I looked up the route of it, and I was like, I'm just going to download that, and I'm going to go and run the Glasgow Marathon today, with nobody else. Just me turned up and ran the route of that. Or I've done other things where in town it's like, right, I'm going to head to the furthest hill that I can north, and then come back to the city centre, head out east, back to the city centre, head out south, like points of a compass. Or another favourite one I enjoy doing is what I call a game of bridge. So because I stayed down by Glasgow Green, which is on the River Clyde, there's tons of bridges, and you can like cross over a bridge, a long crossover bridge, and all the way up. In fact, there's a route that I still want to do because they've opened up the new Renfrew Bridge.
Yes.
So
I've been over it the other night actually. For the first time. It's nice, isn't it? It's nice.
Well, I don't know. I've not been.
Sorry. When you get to see it, it's very nice.
So I've got a game of the game of bridge short that I do at the moment is just the bridges in town, zigzag over and then zigzag over on the way back. Bridge medium is going to be along the Renfrew one and then back, and then bridge long is out to the Erskine Bridge and then back. So the only thing is I don't know how far that is, but
you'll find out.
Yeah, I'll find out. Yeah, and that's again, it's like it's for me. That's what helps just keep things interesting. You create just wee challenges for yourself. Just what can I do that is, especially when I'm not doing a big race. Because when I'm doing a big race or my own challenge because I'm working through all of the Scotland Great Trails. There's like 28 of them. Some of which are races, in which case I do the race, but most of them are just me going out and running. I did the Rob Roy Way, which was like 130 kilometres or something like that. Just did that as my own challenge. The Ayrshire Coastal Path recently, like I said, and for those I do film. So I've got that as a, I'm doing a trail, but I'm also filming, and that,
A couple of things to keep you occupied, exactly.
But obviously when I'm at home and I'm just doing my usual training, I'm not out with the camera. You know, so it's, well, what can I still do to make this interesting and keep me engaged in it? Because other than that, it can just get a bit boring if you're just getting out. You know, because I literally run every day. Not at the moment, like I said, but
obviously enjoy.
But yeah, I'll usually run every day.
Yeah, and something I kind of personally want to ask you in terms of nutrition. You know, you always hear the term, oh, you need carb load the night before. Yeah. Now, that's obviously for people that run their marathons. What's that kind of nutrition, your nutrition like surrounding like a Macedonia or a Cape Wrath?
I like the running. I just tend not to overthink it too much.
Yep.
You know, again, if you're out to try and get a PB or set down the fastest time or something like that, then you probably want to think a bit about carb loading. That can help to an extent, but
you don't overthink it.
I don't overthink it. I mean, the thing that I've ended up having, as it just turns out, usually before these events, it means travelling a bit. I've got a camper van. So usually drive down and before the race I'm just like, oh, what can I make in the van that's just easy? And despite people saying, oh, you should carb load, I actually find protein loading works well for me. It's a really good fuel for the muscles. And so usually before, so I did that St Cuthbert's Way, the race against the tide last weekend, and literally like half an hour before the race started, I was in the van eating 2 big burgers, like that. And that's what I ate. And then half an hour later, I started running. And somebody was actually looking at me going, are you seriously just eating a burger? Like, oh, 2 burgers. They come in a pack of 2 and they're big chunky.
Did they fuel you? Did you take gels with you? Sweets? Was it?
So I still do gels and stuff like that, just because they're easy.
Yeah.
And you know, if it's a race and they've got checkpoints and stuff, just try and eat what I can at the checkpoints, so that I'm not having to carry too much stuff. Because when I do my own adventures, then I have to carry everything, you know, which can be to fuel you through 150 kilometres or so. That, you know, that's when you don't know if you're going to get to a shop or not. Because sometimes these things I'm running through the night, and it might be that, I mean, the likes of that Ayrshire coastal path, I literally came through Ayr where I thought I might be able to refuel with stuff at like 1:30 in the morning. So I was like, well, nothing's open. You know, the only thing that I was a bit worried about was I was running out of water. Yeah. And I was like, and literally there's nowhere open, there's no garages open, I can't even, you know, to top up with water. But I found one of those, you know, on the street, the blue top up your water here things. So
you were like, thank God.
Well, I googled, I was like, I wonder if there is one of them in here. And I was like, oh, there is. So that, I was able to top up with that. But yeah, it's usually just a couple of gels in between checkpoints to keep me going.
Yeah, and how do you balance it all alongside your life? Because obviously, you know, stuff like that takes a lot of time up. How do you manage to that kind of life balance, if you like, and get it right?
I mean, as far as actually just getting in running, it's just about maximising any opportunity. And that's usually if, you know, you're going to visit somebody. Fortunately, my wife is a runner as well, and is understanding of me trying to keep my miles up, as well as I am with her. So if we're going somewhere, like, you know, we're going over to visit my folks, they stay in Bearsden. It's like a 10, 12k run. So usually if we're going to visit them, it's like, well, why don't I run over, bit of change of clothes in the van. When I get there, I can get changed. We'll see them, and then you can run home. So it's just trying to split things up like that. Yeah. And also just, you know, we've got a dog. He needs out, so it's usually Charlie Chops. Yeah. As people on Strava will know, it's Chops and 5 is my, you know.
Is that your name?
Well, no, that's what I call a lot of the runs that I do, because
with Charlie,
it's literally just a 5k, and it's something that, again, you know, people think about, especially when you're building up to big mileage, need to get in a big race, they need to get in big mileage, and it's like, well, you do, but it's mostly important to get the sort of time on feet, and splitting that up throughout the day can sometimes be more beneficial than saying, I've got to do a 20k today. You know, it's like, well, sometimes I'll go out and I'll do a 5k in the morning, I'll do a 10k at lunch, and then I'll take Charlie out for another 5k in the evening, and I've got my 20k. It's trained the muscles to to be prepared and to be ready to run at any point through the day,
Yep.
rather than doing it all in a winner and then, you know, doing nothing the rest of the day.
Yeah, and obviously managing to balance all that, and then including obviously the YouTube side of things, Instagram side of things. You said you'd filmed before you actually started going on YouTube, and obviously get quite a big following now on YouTube with kind of 6,000 followers. What's that like then? What made you kind of start going, yeah, I'm going to start putting this on YouTube?
I think it was just because it was like I always liked to film the runs I was doing. You know, there's even that first ultra that I did. I'm not quite sure where it is, but there is footage of a film that I made. I keep meaning to try and dig that out. Yeah. It would be crap anyway. You know, whatever.
Love to see it though.
Yeah, what I was just using back then, you know, the quality of the video would have been rubbish. But yeah, it's always something I've been interested in, mostly from the point of view that I knew that it was nice to look back on, and I would only look back on a race like that if I edit it into something that I would enjoy watching again, rather than just hours of rubbish, you know, like, so cut out all the crap bits. You put together something that I would enjoy watching, and then it was thinking, well, I could maybe actually just start putting these onto somewhere like YouTube, even just so that they're backed up from my point of view. Yep. And then, yeah, that just progressed.
Grew arms and legs.
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite slow. I keep saying it's quite, I suppose that the ultra running world is quite a niche, quite a small world. You know, the people that are in it are, you know, get really, you know, mad fans that love the stuff. Yeah. But it's still quite, when you say like 6,000, you know, I don't even think I'm at like 6,000 followers.
It's not. I think it's not that far off it though. It's 5.83 or something.
It's like, you know, people say. I get a lot of comments from people saying that, oh, your videos deserve a lot more views, or you should, you know, your channel should have a lot more subscribers. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, it'd be cool if it did, but I'm also a bit like, well, yeah, but what? It doesn't make any difference. I enjoy doing what I do. I love the running. I love making the videos, and I love having something that I know that in years to come, I'll be able to look back on, and you know, when I'm not able to run, when I'm not able to do these big distances, and look back on something that I can be proud of. I mean, yeah, it would be good to be able to get to a point where I could actually make money on it. I mean, that would be the dream. If I could make enough money from doing the YouTube stuff, then I would do it. I mean, I'm toying with the idea of trying that, because ultimately you need to then give it your full-time attention in order to get those sort of rewards. For full-time, for work at the moment, I'm a property developer, so buy wee flats in town and do them up. And I just do all the work myself, because it just cuts the cost down, and also gives just me the flexibility to work when I want, or if I've got time off to do a race, or I'm trying to edit a video. Yep. The other thing is it then takes a long time to get the property finished and get it sold, and the market for the city centre stuff in the last few years hasn't been that good, so it's not even really paid off that well. So it's funny, because right at this point I've got a wee flat that is due to settle this week on Friday, which will good, it'll give me some cash back, but I'm also at a point where I'm thinking I really need, something needs to change here, because what I'm doing is not sustainable. Yep. I need to either find a way to be able to make more money from producing the videos. Yes. You know, how can I do that so that I can continue doing them? Because it's unfortunately going to get to a point where I say, well, I'm a perfectionist when it comes to the videos, and it does take me a long time to edit them, because I want them to be good, and I want it to be something that I watch in years to come and go, yeah, you know, that was good. Or I've seen it before where people, you know, they put on videos and you know, they've not cut this, they've not cut that, they've not done transitions very well, they've not overlaid the music, you know, and it makes for a bit of a not enjoyable viewing experience. Yeah, that's the thing. Stu's exactly the same, and he's in the editing suite, and obviously very different video types, but you know, he's very
zoned in on making sure that it's absolutely perfect, you know, what cuts to what part, and you know, he spends so much time on that because you know I know how invested he is in making everything look so good. So I know when you're obviously talking about editing there, you don't want to just like, I'll spend 5-10 minutes quickly cutting that up and then we'll just chuck it out. You want to make something perfect so that people enjoy watching it. You know, very similar to myself when we're doing the episodes. We want to put out stuff that people enjoy watching.
Which takes time.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time.
And as you know, from the point of like finishing a race, so likes of that Ultra Trail Macedonia, the most recent big race that I've done, you know, crossing that finishing line is great. But it's also for me, like, I almost feel that that's like a sort of halfway, you know. I've done the race and that's great.
But now I need to edit it.
But now I've now got to sit for the next few weeks editing and putting together the video of it. So it's a kind of, you know, in my mind it's, you know, the race is only half of what it is that I do. You know, the other half is the video.
Yeah, it's so commendable. As I said, I know personally, and Stu as well, how long it actually takes to edit stuff. You know, we're talking like maybe an hour episode at a time. You're talking a 35, 40 hour different. Obviously, it's not that long, but like different clips, it's going to be like 20 odd hours you're looking through. That takes a hell of a lot of time. And I think some people maybe don't even realise that when you put the clips up. You're like, God, you've actually sat all that time and done it. So it must be nice to then get the feedback from people. You know, I know you said that, you know, you do it for the fun of it, but it's nice to get people saying, you know, you deserve more views and you deserve this.
I mean, it's nice to hear, you know, when people say that they've been inspired to do a race or to sign up or like, you know, or whatever after watching one of my videos. I mean, although like I've talked about myself, like in years to come, it would be nice to watch back in the videos, and that's probably the best sort of feedback. And I get a few comments from people that have been ultra runners in their time and they're now just maybe in their 60s and they're not able to do the same level, but they enjoy watching back and now seeing somebody like myself pushing myself and doing 100-mile races. You know, there's something quite emotional about that because I know that I'll be at that point soon. You know, I can't keep bashing myself forever. No. You know, so
there's a timeline, there's an expiry date on everyone, isn't there? Eventually, and especially with the amount of work you're putting through your body, you know, there will be eventually a time when.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know when that. You know, I suppose anything can happen at any point, injury-wise. But I would hope that I can continue running. But I'm in my, you know, mid-40s at the moment, and you know, I know that for the next 10 years, I will be able to still do what I'm doing. Maybe a wee bit slower and take a wee bit longer to recover, but like
as you said, there's no pressure on time though, is there? So
but there's no pressure, you know, and that's the thing. That's something I hope to kind of hold on to and not get frustrated that things are a wee bit sorer or it's not as easy as, you know, what it's been in the past.
Yeah, in terms of that fan connection, what's the most meaningful message or interaction you've had from someone watching or, you know, somebody following you?
Yeah, I mean, like, it is pretty cool when somebody says, like, they've signed up for an event literally because they've watched my video and they're, you know, they've now been inspired to do the same, you know. That's quite cool, because it's like, all right, well, you know, that person might not have been pushed to push themselves into doing a big race without the inspiration of watching somebody. And I think, you know, I watched other videos of other people doing other events and things, and something I kind of hold on to with mine is that, you know, that it is they're proper journeys. You know, you come on the journey with me from start to finish. You know, a comment I got recently, somebody just saying that, you know, again, compared to other videos where, you know, somebody will film and they'll, you know, you see a lot of the first half, but then in the second half, you don't really see much, you know, because the person's tired, they can't be bothered filming, their batteries have run out, they haven't thought about how they're going to charge stuff up on the go. Whereas you know, I do like to make sure that, in fact, more often than not, there's more content in the second half of a race than there is in the first half, because in the first half everything's good, you know,
everything great,
you know, like, you know, but in the second half, particularly when you're heading on into the second night of of an ultra and you're tired, and you know, it's at those points that I'm like, right, get the camera out, film this bit. You know, you're heading up this hill, you're tired, you're sore. How are you feeling? You know.
Yeah, and obviously, those people again, just starting out, maybe don't realise half the effort you actually put in to doing your videos. You know, those people that maybe don't film that last half.
Yeah.
And it's just experience, isn't it? Because they'll soon realise when they'll go, actually, that's the bit everybody's really wanting to see. You know, they want to see the, oh, this is great, and I'm at the. They want to see the bit where you're really showing that natural raw side to you, where you actually are gubbed and you're out and you're flat out. Yeah. You're gubbed. You don't feel like running a mile, but you need to still push through it, and that's the bit people want to see, and that's probably why you get so much feedback on your videos.
Yeah.
In terms of the race calendar for you, what's next? What's coming up?
So in less than 2 weeks now, in fact, in a week's time, I head out to the Swiss Alps to do the Swiss Alps 100 miler race. So that's a big one. Lots of elevation, 10,000 meters of elevation. On paper, it's quite similar to what the Ultra Trail Snowdonia was at about 10,000 meters, 100 miles. Big long ups, big long downs, not much flat in between. The thing I'm hoping with the Swiss Alps one is that the trails are a wee bit better than what the Snowdon one was.
It was tough.
And to be honest, I don't know. I'm just gonna.
You're going to find out.
I'm holding on to hope, and I might be disappointed when I get there and go, oh, what? It's just big rocks and stuff. But
again, you're going to be in it, aren't you? So you're just going to be in it. You're going to need to just enjoy it, embrace it.
Yeah, I mean, I never recce anything. I never researched too much. I mean, like literally before doing a race, the things that I need to know is usually, well, distance. How far is it? What's the elevation? If it's a race, then what sort of checkpoints are there? How often are there? And I'll usually have that written down on a bit of paper, just so that, and if it's a hilly one, each section between each checkpoint, I usually just make a wee simple line drawing of what the elevation is to know whether is this like a, you know, have I got like up and then lots of wee ups and downs, or is it literally just a big climb and a big down? You know, it just kind of mentally prepares you for what's coming up. So I forgot what were we talking there?
So in terms of just you, what was next in your race calendar? Was that race?
Oh right, yeah. So with the Swiss Alps. So I've not looked too much ahead on it because I also like these things to be a surprise. You know, people that go out and recce routes and run sections of it before, I'm like, well, for me that's part of the enjoyment of going somewhere new, is that it's like, I don't know what's coming.
It's a discovery.
Yeah, and like if you recce something and it's like, oh, at mile 30 there's this horrific section where it's all clambery and it's not straightforward and oh, that's going to be horrible. It's like, well, for the first 30 miles you're probably thinking like, oh, I've got this bit coming up.
Yeah, but if you don't know then...
Because if you don't know, you just like, you hit it and then go,
deal with it.
Oh, right, this is hard. Yeah.
Would you say that's a dream race that you've not ticked off yet, or is there another one you've got your eyes on?
Yeah, no, I mean it it wasn't a dream race as such. It was one that I'd heard of, and I thought sounded great, you know. So I was wanting to do it, but it's also one that's fairly easy to get into. You know, there's other ones that you need to have, you know, like the UTMB, where you've got to acquire stones from running one of their organised races. So the Ultra Trail Snowdonia, because that now is organised by UTMB, you get what are called these running stones, which are basically entries. That gives you an entry into running their main big race, which is the UTMB, the Ultra Trail de Mont Blanc. And that's certainly on the list. I would love to do it, but it's very difficult to get into. And because you have to do their races, there's only a few of them in the UK, and it means then travelling to go and do their events in order to get the stones that are required to give you more entries. And that's something like, well, if it happens to be that I do one of their races and I get stones, great, but I'm not going to choose a race simply because it has got because it's organised by
Yeah,
them.
you're going to enjoy it, as you said. You take it as it comes. It's no
Yeah.
pointless putting pressure yourself to get the stones. Just like if it happens, it happens, and it comes, it comes.
Yeah, and then there's other races like Western State, some of the big American ones, Western State, Badwater. These are ones that you need to have qualifying races for. So in the year before you would enter, you've got to have done a similar 100-miler race, and there's you know, that's a bit of a pressure. Fortunately, at the moment, that's no problem. I am doing the qualifying races, and I am entering. It's just they're so hard to get into.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the chances of getting in. Some people have been. Your chances get more each year that goes on. But yeah, just the Western State there was a few people from Scotland that got over to do it, but they've been trying for like 7 or 8 years to get in. You know, and each year you need to do the qualifying race in order to enter, and then you don't get in, so then you've got to do it again next year. You know, it's and like again, so it's something that I'm like, yeah, cool if it happens, but I'm not like must be doing this race. There's loads of other races out there that you can go and do. You know, you just pay the money, you enter, and you go and do it. You know,
there's a lot of more events. I don't know if it's just because they're advertised more nowadays, but I'm talking even the shorter ones. You know, the ones who do in like Pollock Park and stuff like that. They could do a Glasgow Green. It's like a 5-10k, and you just enter on the day, get a wee medal, and everybody feels great for it. But it's brilliant, isn't it? It's great, that kind of thing, getting people into running.
And there's loads of the, you know, and you know, yeah, the levels of the sort of 50-mile, 100-mile races, even the sort of 200-mile stuff, like, you know, there's loads out there. You know, I've done a few 200-mile races now. Race Across Scotland was my first one. That goes across Scotland. Yeah, it's the Southern Upland Way, which is good because it's one of Scotland's great trails. So it ticked one off the list. Yep. It's like 350 kilometres. Yeah, it's over 220 miles.
Do you have a wee list? You have a list in that, like in your house
so
or on the
list,
board?
Yeah.
You're ticking through?
Yeah, something I printed off a few years ago. And in fact, I just updated it the other day. You know, can tick it off when I did it, how long it took and all that. So that was good. And then last year I did the Tour de Jaune, which is another 200-miler event in the Alps. But it's got like 24,000 metres of elevation. And just an insane amount of distance and elevation to cover in a one go. And compared to the Cape Wrath, which we talked about, which is a staged race, these sort of 200-miler races are continuous. So literally, you start, you finish, and when you stop, when you rest, when you sleep, is like up to you. So they've got these checkpoints along the way, and some have got beds set up that you can sleep at, but you know how long you sleep for. The other thing is they usually limit it because there's so many people trying to do these races. You know, they give you an hour.
This is fair.
Which is fair until you're like on to day 4 and you've only had like, you know, 2 hours of sleep. And
then they give you another.
Oh my God, you know, yeah.
In terms of people that are very much at the start of their running journey, now obviously you're into your ultra, people at the start, what would be your advice for them? You know, people don't even know where to start. You always hear couch to 5k, stuff like that. What would be your advice if somebody was to ask, you know, how do I start? How do I get into running?
Like, just take it easy. Like, you know, when I first started running, I just wasn't very good at it because I just always went too fast. You know, probably because I was quite a fast runner, like at school, you know, the sprinting and all that sort of stuff. And so I could never pace myself very well. In fact, it was only when I started going out with my now wife, we went out a run together and she was quite a bit slower. And I was like, oh, we're going a bit faster here. But it would get to, you know, especially when we're starting to get our miles up, because we both ran the West Island Way together, we did it over a few days. And in our training leading up to that is where I learned about pacing, because we'd be going quite slow and I'd be like, come on, go a bit faster. Yep. And yet when we got to like, you know, once we were 20k into a training run, like I'm then starting to feel like, oh, this is now starting to get hard. And she was like, oh, I'm just getting into my pace now, this is good. And I'm like, all right, yeah, it's about just trying to, and it's something now that I use on any of the big races that I do, is like I start as I mean to go on. So if you're running at the start of a race and you're thinking, oh, this is great, I'm running, it's like, you're probably running too fast.
Yeah.
Like, so do you think you'll be going to be running that fast at the end? Probably not, so slow it down. And even for like if somebody's going out to do like a 5K or something like that, it's like, just slow it all down. The training for going faster doesn't happen when you're doing, when you're going out to do a 5K run. It comes in like specific speed sessions and things, which I probably don't do enough of. I don't, actual targeted training sessions where I'm looking at either hill climbs, hill repeats, or speed sessions.
Yeah.
But it is through those sessions that you can build up on your pace and stamina. When you go out and you really try and push it on a 5K, unless you're trying to get a good time, just relax. It's just about getting your body used to running, and I always just call it time on feet. It's just about getting your body used to being out for longer and longer each time, and then build up a program around that of, well, okay, so I've got a target in my mind. I want to get, I want to be able to do a 5K in less than 20 minutes. So like, how am I then going to do that? And that's done in your training plan, which I don't have. but
you said it's embedded in your life now, and you've been doing it so long, you don't really need that training plan and stuff, because you know exactly when you're doing it.
And I know what I need, and I know what I need to be doing in the build-up when I've got a big race coming up. Okay, well, do I need to be getting out for some longer runs, or doing some hill sessions or something like that?
Yeah, and something you've kind of repeatedly said throughout this episode is not putting pressure on yourself. Yeah. You've said it with everything, when we go back to the very, very start, talking about the YouTube, just enjoy it, don't put pressure on yourself. The big long runs, don't put pressure on yourself. And it's the same then with people that are starting out. Don't put pressure on yourself. If you run a 40-minute 5K, who cares? You've ran a 5K. It's people aren't nowadays, even myself, I'm guilty of it from time to time, is putting a lot of pressure on yourself for a 5K. It's like, if I don't go under 25 minutes, it's a rubbish time. Yeah. It's like, nobody really cares. Like, just
it really doesn't matter. Yeah.
Nobody's going, that was a bit of a slow 5K. Nobody really cares. In terms of the biggest mistakes, then, that would be the biggest one, you would say, then, people putting too much pressure on themselves?
Probably, yeah. Probably too much pressure, taking it too seriously, worrying, what other people think, or trying to, it's good to have goals. I mean, and it is, but for the right reason, and also not that becoming everything. Like I still would be like, oh, it'd be quite good to do a marathon in under 3 hours, and I can do a marathon comfortably in 3 hours 10, 3 hours 15, like, and I know that if I actually put my mind to it, and when I enter an actual one of the big marathon somewhere, that I might try and do sub 3, but like, it's not, it's not shaping my running, or it's not the main focus or goal, because like, I just enjoy running. That's for me. I just enjoy being able to get out and run every day.
Yeah, I think it really comes across like that as well. When you're speaking about it, you can tell how passionate you are about it, and even that, as you said, you don't put pressure on it either. Mm-hmm. And I think that probably makes it even stronger for yourself, as there's no pressure on it, so you can really let loose and enjoy it as much as you obviously do. Yeah. When you look back on all this one day, the races, pain, the videos, what do you hope it says about you? I don't know. I think to be an inspiration, I think knowing in years to come to look back and go, I did the stuff that I did, and I created these videos, and it's inspired people, and it's given me some form of something that I can be proud of, and I am every now and again. I still put on one of my own videos. Like, I don't know what it says about me, but it's like, I'm still probably my #1 fan. Yeah. It sounds a bit stupid, but like, I enjoy putting on sometimes put on like the Cape Wrath video or something like that, and just be like, just relive it, and so I think in years to come, I'll I don't know how long I'll do the filming and stuff for, because
it does take a lot of time. And like I said, you know, whether or not financially I'm able to do that long term, but I think I would just like to know that, you know, I've experienced doing things which not a lot of people get to do, and that is be 5 days deep on a 200-mile race, wondering, you know, how you're going to push on for the last 50 miles or something. You know, it's like, and it's something that, like, people say, oh, these things are life-changing, and I don't think that they are. You know, people get quite spiritual about it all and all that, and for me, when I head out to do a big race, then, you know, life itself all comes to a stop. You know, you're suddenly entered into this little bubble of this race, and that's all you need to think about, which is great, because I'm an overthinker. Life can be like, oh my God, there's all these different options, what we do, you know, and it's like, for me, when I get to the start line of a race, it's suddenly, life is just so simple. Like, all you got to do is run and film and eat and think, you know, but that's where the concentration is. You know, I really like that about the race, and it can feel quite spiritual when you're out in this little bubble. But ultimately, like a lot of things, that finishes, you come home, and that bubble just stays there. You know, you can. That's why I like the videos, because it can delve me back into it.
It's like almost picking out the archives, isn't it? It's like, let's pick it and watch that again.
But you know, you just come back to normal life. I remember, was it Jim Carrey used to go on about how he loved that about acting, and that was that, you know, when he was playing these characters, he would just become so involved in it, and it meant that he didn't have to think about his own life at all. And he used to find it quite hard coming out of once a film was done. And to be honest, I do sometimes find it a wee bit hard, you know, because you then are back in normal life. You've got issues with, like, paying bills and making money, and like a toddler who's like tantruming, and a dog that needs out, and like life stuff. And you're just like, it's just so much simpler when I'm on a run. But you know, that, and it's where I probably, you know, some people get the sort of runner's blues, where they finish a race and then they're like, oh, now what? I don't know what to do. And I'm like, that's where, as I said, I'm only halfway. Like, I finish a race and then I'm like, right, now for the next few weeks I'm editing the video. You're almost reliving it right away. I love that. I'm not getting that sort of finish a race and it's like, now what? I mean, because even like, you know, there's runs that I've done that I've videoed that I haven't produced the video for yet, and this is like going back even to the beginning of last year. So there's, you know, I've still got about 3 or 4 complete videos ready to be made. That's going to be the only problem now that I shaved the beard off. You'll be able to tell. It's going to jump about a bit between, beard, and then no beard.
You're going to throw everybody off.
I know, it is going to be quite funny. So the Swiss Alps race in 2 weeks. I always try, if it's a race, I always try and get the video out soon after the race is done. If it's my own challenge that I've done, well, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter whether that comes out within a few weeks or a few months or the year after or something. But yeah, so the Swiss Alps one I'll have to introduce myself at the start of it.
Nah, you will, so everybody knows. Listen, mate, thank you so much for coming on today, and honestly, it was really, really cool listening to all your advice, everything that you've been through, and all the stuff that's to come as well.
Well, it's exciting, but it's also, you know, I don't just take it for granted, you know, because the likes of, like I said at the moment, a wee bit of an Achilles issue, and I've not been able to run in this last week, and it can already start to throw in your mind of going, well, something like this could come up which could literally just stop my running. You know. So I just I enjoy it for now. I don't take it for granted, and that's why I just try and do as much as I can at the moment. And long may it continue. No, please, and listen, thank you so much again for coming on. Really appreciate it. And me and Stu wish you the best of luck going forward. Thanks, John. Cheers, mate. Thank you. All right.